Hey there, Dr. Mark here, and after working with 2,000 plus nutrition clients, I've had thousands of client conversations and answered just as many questions. And guess what? They're nearly all about protein. Dietary protein, the most important macronutrient, but also the toughest for your clients to get enough of. Which is why in today's video, I'm going to show you 20 ways to boost your client's protein intake without using protein powder. Your client's results might depend on it, so let's dive in. With number one, low-fat dairy options. It can be tough for your clients to add in more protein without adding in a lot more calories or extra fat. But low-fat dairy is the answer here. We're talking low-fat cheese, cottage cheese, and Greek yogurt. All these sources of protein add up fast. But let's also not forget about number two, ultra-filtered milk. 5 years ago, it would have been tough to find a milk that had more than 8 to 10 grams of protein per serving. But now, due to the emergence of ultra-filtered milks like Fairlife, that has nearly 14 grams of protein per serving, milk is going a lot further. And this type of milk is truly its own serving of protein now. So obviously when we're talking about increasing protein here, we can add in new sources of protein. But my nutrition clients also like the strategy of swapping out commonly consumed foods for higher protein alternatives. So let's chat about some simple protein swaps. Your clients don't need to eat more food to get more protein. They can work in more protein with these simple swaps, like using Greek yogurt in some common sauces like tzatziki, or adding a nutritional yeast to salad dressings for more salt and a better texture. I wasn't gonna do this, but I need to do this. Greek yogurt needs to have its own section because it is the undisputed MVP of protein. I'm not sure you remember life before Greek yogurt, but it was dreadful. The year was 2008 and you had plain yogurt with barely any protein, so that wasn't really helpful at all. But you also had cottage cheese, which you pretended that you liked. And no one actually likes cottage cheese, especially the people that like it and mix in vegetables. They are psychos. But then Greek yogurt busted on the scene. Full of protein, low in fat, super versatile. And life changed for everyone, so I want to take this moment to thank you, Greek yogurt. Now let's move on to another game changer. Black bean, chickpea, and lentil pastas. Again, many of your clients are probably going to need to eat some more meat, but more protein doesn't always need to come from animal-based sources. One easy way to bump up the protein in conventional foods is through legume-based pasta choices. Many of these have nearly 20 grams of protein and 5+ grams of fiber per serving. Now keep in mind, they can taste good, although some are definitely better than others. But there still is quite a difference between that and conventional pasta or noodles. So you may need to tread carefully as a nutrition coach if you're suggesting something like this for the first time. Okay, let's talk about some easier stuff though. Number 5, convenient protein options. When your clients are eating on the go, most of the convenient food options are going to be carb and fat heavy. But it doesn't need to be that way if they prioritize things like low-fat cheese strings, beef jerky, and even some protein bars. And keep in mind, protein bars have come a long way. Many are starting to taste more like real food with minimally processed ingredients, and they can keep your clients fuller for longer than protein powder. These ones right here are my favorite right now, which are also plant-based, which we're going to talk about next. All protein counts. When your clients think about protein, they probably think about meat, eggs, and dairy. But if they only focus on those foods, they'll miss out on plenty of other foods that supply extra protein that add up to bigger protein totals. There are many plant-based foods that add up and go a long way. Think edamame beans, quinoa, lentils, but also nuts and seeds. But again, it's not always about new foods. Let's talk about serving sizes. We focused on adding in a lot of new foods and swaps, but one of the easiest ways to eat more protein is to bump up the serving sizes of the protein sources you're already eating. Instead of 100 grams of chicken, think about eating 150 grams of chicken. Add a cup of egg whites to 2 whole eggs. You can nearly double your protein intake by just bumping up the serving size of the protein you're already eating. But this next tip is super useful but often overlooked. Get your clients to build their meals around protein. If your clients are struggling to eat more protein, they need to start building meals around it by making it the focus of the meal. If your nutrition clients can start to build their meals around protein first, aiming for 20 to 30 grams from a core source, or a few individual ingredients like cheese and beans that are going to add up to around 20 grams, they will start to hit their protein targets. Those that struggle to get there don't typically have this awareness of building their meals around protein. So we need to start encouraging our clients to eat like adults and include a serving of protein every time they eat. Maybe even set a per meal target. Okay, but let's get specific again. Sometimes it's hard to eat enough protein because the calories can add up quick, especially if you're eating protein sources that come with a lot of fat, like inexpensive cuts of meat, but also some of those plant-based sources that are going to come with a lot of additional carbs. Here's the fix for that. Number 12, egg whites. Egg whites are incredibly helpful for boosting protein. All protein, no other macronutrients, coming in at around 6 grams of protein per quarter cup. You need to have this stuff in your fridge at all times. You can add it to whole eggs for more protein, among other things which we'll talk about in a second, but keep this in mind about eggs. From a nutritional perspective, the egg is kind of separated out into 2 parts. We have the egg white and we have the egg yolk. Most of the nutrients, as well as the cholesterol and the fat, and some protein are going to be found in the egg yolk, whereas there's mainly just protein in the egg white. This doesn't make the egg yolk bad at all, but it does make the egg white pretty versatile. Not many foods come with protein just in isolation. Plus, with egg whites, you don't need to separate them out yourself anymore. They come just like that. And egg whites are much more convenient than they used to be. You don't need to separate them out yourself and waste anything. They just magically appear in the grocery store like that. No, they come in cartons, which is much more convenient. Also easy enough to add to many egg-based dishes like omelets, sandwiches, and stuff like quiches, as well as recipes like this, protein pancakes. One way to make higher protein pancakes is to add an egg white and cottage cheese compared to just the traditional flour and liquid in normal pancakes. Here is the laziest protein pancake of all time, and you can hand mix it. 120 grams of egg white, 60 grams of cottage cheese, 45 grams of oat flour or just grinded oatmeal, as well as 20 grams of protein powder. Shh, don't tell anyone we weren't supposed to use protein powder. That's nearly 40 grams of protein right there. You can hand mix this one, put it in a non-stick pan. It's super easy. And if you want to add even more protein to this one, check this out. Number 14, powdered peanut butter. Okay, let's set the record straight. Peanut butter, not a protein source. It's a fat source with some protein, unless we do some filtration. You're probably starting to see a bit of a theme here. Due to advances in food processing technology, we can filter some food products and change them in a positive way. More protein in yogurt and milk, and less fat in nut butters with more protein, giving you 5 to 8 grams of protein for every 2 tablespoons, with a tenth of the fat. I typically buy it flavored with cocoa, so it's chocolatey and delicious, but you can also buy it unflavored and add thickness to some more savory based dishes. That would be just as easy as well. Okay, let's move to some more convenient options. Number 15, we have canned tuna. Okay, I saved this one for later because we're gonna get personal for a second here. I don't like fish at all, none of it. I just can't do it. And I wish I did because it's so healthy for you and a good source of protein, but I just can't do it. With that being said, canned tuna is super inexpensive. It doesn't really perish and it's super convenient. Where most clients struggle to eat enough protein is when they're gonna eat like a salad and they don't have a true protein source, or they're eating on the move. Canned tuna just really ticks all of these boxes. And let's build on this canned theme for a second. Canned chicken and ham. Although I wouldn't eat this stuff all the time, there's no reason to steer away from canned meats if you're in a pinch. Again, a lot of the time getting enough protein isn't really a knowledge problem. It's a practicality problem. And if you have something like this in your pantry, it's super easy to supplement and add to meals. Which brings me to another practical suggestion. Number 17, freeze extra meat. Most of the time getting enough protein is a preparation problem. But when your clients do have enough time to cook, encourage them to cook some more and freeze it. Extra lean ground beef for meat sauce, chicken for stir fries, cook extra, freeze it in extra large freezer bags, and take it out when your fresh meat runs out and you're not gonna get to the grocery store. And here's another easy suggestion: frozen chicken and soy burgers. Okay, so for many frozen beef burgers, they're just not that great nutritionally. They have tons of fat, sometimes upwards of 30 to 40 grams, which again, remember, if there's more fat than protein, it's not a protein source, it's a fat source. But a lot of the pre-made chicken and soy burgers can be pretty lean, and they can also be tasty, and you can take them right from the freezer and throw them on the barbecue or right into the air fryer. I always keep a package of these in my freezer because they can be really convenient, and I encourage my clients to do that as well. In keeping with the frozen theme, frozen edamame and beans. So grocers and food producers are always evolving with the market. So much stuff comes processed and frozen these days, and they're not any worse for you nutritionally, especially when it's just cooked and flash frozen without any additional processing. We keep frozen edamame and just add it to peas and carrots for extra protein. This is the kind of stuff that adds up. And lastly, I wanted to include this one because it's important. Number 20, protein powder. Here's the deal, there's nothing wrong with taking supplemental protein, but I wouldn't rely on it because it doesn't keep people full, but it's versatile and it's tasty, and in many cases, when you consider that it doesn't expire, it can be really cost effective. My general guidelines are no more than 3 servings of supplemental protein for men. This includes 2 scoops of protein powder in 1 bar, and 2 servings for females, and that's 1 in 1. And these are just general guidelines based on body weight. Because when you start supplementing too much, you start displacing out other forms of nutrition that could be better, especially when this happens too frequently. But there's no real reason to be afraid of protein powder. And there you have it, folks. That's 20 ways to boost your client's protein intake. Feel free to pass this along if you found it helpful. And as great as all those tips are, if you're really serious about starting a nutrition coaching business this year, the next thing I'll have you do is check out this video I've linked up right here. These are the best nutrition apps your clients need to download. So make sure to check it out now, and I'll see you in the next video.